Hi everyone, it's Revi. Today we're at Royalwood. This is where we get almost all of our trim and doors purchased from. They're a fabulous supplier. We've been working with them for many years, and Brenna's going to teach us a few different things, and I'm super excited because bringing you behind the scenes to learn a little bit more, I think is going to help you make decisions for your future renos. Okay, so we're here with Brenna and we're going to talk about all different things, trim, molding, doors. It's going to be really super exciting and really provide you with some details so that when you're starting your home renovation, you'll have an idea as to what direction you want to go. So right now we are in Royalwood's trim section, I'm going to call it. And so baseboards and door casings and like all the pretty trims that go around, all of the things that get built in your house, whether they're doors or windows or even your baseboards. So I want to start to talk about the difference between MDF and wood, because a lot of people have white MDF baseboards or painted MDF baseboards, or they do wood, and a lot of the time people don't really understand the difference.
For sure, yeah. So there are pros and cons to both, to MDF versus wood. MDF is a synthetic product, so it is essentially a press board that is primed, and the nice thing about MDF is it comes in nice long straight lengths with a solid primer on it. It is a product that paints up really beautifully. It has a nice smooth finish, and you know exactly what you're going to get with MDF. There are a couple more options or variables with wood products. So we can still get wood products in nice long straight lengths with a solid gesso primer on them. Okay. So they'll still paint up really nicely. Wood has a higher ability to adapt to moist situations. So if you have like a bathroom, for example, and you know, there might be a little bit more moisture in the air, you probably want to go with a wood product versus an MDF. So it has a few more sort of stability components than an MDF, let's say.
Okay, all right, that's good. That's really good to know, because a lot of the time, because MDF is less expensive than wood. It is. But a bathroom's a small space. So it really would be a good spot to put a little bit more money into your trim so that it will last longer.
Yes, and you can mix and match too. Most of the MDF profiles also come in wood profiles. Okay. So if you have a situation where you have a bathroom that maybe doesn't have the greatest ventilation, you could go with a wood product in the bathroom and do MDF in your closets or in the lesser used rooms. Okay. And they'll look very similar.
Okay, that's really good to know.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Any other big differences between wood and MDF that you can think of?
Namely the price. MDF is a fairly economical option. You do pay a premium for the wood products, but that is a significant factor.
Okay. For a lot of people. Especially if you're doing an entire home, like redoing all of your floors, the cost difference can be great. But in a bathroom where it's not there's not usually a lot of trim in a bathroom. It's very little. Yep. So it's a really good opportunity to sort of boost the longevity of your trim. Yep. Let's talk about door casings or door trims. Yep. So often people will say, you know, I really want to beef up my door trim, and you can get a really big molding around your door, but that doesn't always elevate the look of it. So talk to me about a back band. What's a back band?
For sure. So this is your standard door casing, and this is what we call a back band. So it's essentially an added piece of molding that sits on the back edge of the door casing, and it does a couple of things. Obviously it increases the width, but it also increases the depth and the like sort of interesting factor to it.
So it adds some texture and some sort of variable into the space. Yeah. And it's not a very expensive way to really elevate your style, especially if you're not doing a really expensive door. If you're doing a simple shaker door or just a simple door with a little bit of molding on it, and you really want to elevate the look, this is a less expensive way often than going with a more expensive door.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it can definitely create some texture and more character to even existing doors. Even if you don't want to switch out your doors, you can add on a back band and it can make a big difference.
And I think about, when we're redoing floors and we're putting new baseboards, often people want bigger baseboards than the ones that came with the builder. But we don't want to replace all of the trim around every single door, so adding a back band, since we're popping off the baseboards anyway, is a more economical way to really beef up your space and make your door casings feel more in tune with your baseboards.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about doors, and people often have, well, I think all my clients ask me the identical thing. They ask me what's in style, and they ask me the different makeup of doors. So the difference between a hollow core door and a solid door. So let's learn all about it.
So at the core, there are two basic types of doors. There are shaker doors and there are what we call molded panel doors. So shaker doors are a wood rail and style with an MDF panel. So there really is no core to the door. They are a solid door.
Let's show them sideways.
In the essence. So you can see they just have a panel and then the wood rail and style. So they are a fairly heavy door, a pretty substantial door. Comes in all sorts of different heights and widths, of course. Yeah, like I said, there's no core versus a molded panel door. So a molded panel door is essentially a wood blocker on the side with either a hollow or they call it a solid core. So it can be filled with material there, and then they're covered in an MDF skin. So the MDF skin can look in any number of different profiles, and the core construction of them is the same. So those are the two basic types of doors.
For instance.
Yes. So this is a bit of an anomaly. This is a router card door. So it is a solid door. It would be constructed similarly to this type of door, where it'll have a wood rail and style, and then this profile is routed into the face of it.
And this interior is more like this. This is harder than it looks. It feels like it's just cardboard.
This will have a solid core. This will be a solid wood door.
And
this is a pretty substantial
similar
door.
to what we're seeing here.
This one is a solid wood door, so the core would be wood.
Like
on
solid,
that one.
like more like
yeah,
this.
like that. Yeah.
Like a solid door.
Yeah, that's right.
And so what is the difference between that? What's this called?
This is a molded panel door.
A molded panel door, and this is solid door. So it means it's all wood, and all of this is carved and moldings are applied, etc.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's quite substantial and heavier.
This one is a thicker door as well.
Beautiful.
So it's 1 3/4 inch thick versus your standard 1 3/8. So that's another way to sort of beef up your doors. If there's a particular style you like, but you want them to really hold weight, bumping up the thickness of your door is an easy way to do that as well.
Let's talk about these beautiful moldings that are all around.
Yes.
I'll take these away.
Yeah, we can put those.
And maybe you could tell us about, the type of, how is this construction? What is all of this stuff?
So this is actually a great point, going back to what we were talking about before with the back band. So what this is you've got your door casing there, and this section here is the back band. So we took a 3 1/4 inch casing on that one, added that back band, and really beefed it up.
Okay. And then the rest of this, like this is MDF with a trim on a wall.
You got
correct?
it. Yep. Yeah. So this would be your drywall here, and this is what we call like raised paneling.
Yeah.
So you add on a piece of either wood or MDF there, and then this is your panel mold, your offset panel mold. So it sits on the lip of that MDF on the wall.
And dressing it up, a lot of the time, this is not drywall. They do a sheet of MDF and then they build on that. Yeah. So you don't get that like orange peel effect of drywall, because drywall does have that, and unless you're spraying your entire house and all your walls, you're going to see that orange peel effect. So they'll put a piece of MDF first and then build all the moldings on top of it.
Yeah.
And then you'll need a back band anyways, because by the time you build all of this up, often your door casing is not going to line up properly. So you put a back band on to make sure everything's lined up and looks great.
Yeah, yeah.
Archways are back. We've been doing tons and tons of archways, and I personally love it. I think it feels like you're going on a European vacation when you walk into someone's house and you see archways. I love it. Yeah. So there's different ways to accomplish the look of archways, I find. So there's the less expensive ways and the more expensive ways. Sometimes someone can't really afford to do all of their entrances or all of their doors custom archway. Yeah. So we do simple things like a door, maybe into a pantry, for example, that has a beautiful arch in it. So this is a really nice example. It kind of has that sort of shabby chic farmhouse vibe, and it has a small archway at the top. So it starts to bring in the feeling without going, into maybe a more permanent and more expensive space. Yeah. But we've also done a lot of archways into a living room or into a family room in between spaces now. Yes. And when we first started doing them many years ago, we needed to figure out how do you get that beautiful archway without cutting 42 pieces of drywall. Yes. And so why don't you talk to people about what wiggle wood is, because I think it's very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So wiggle wood is a sheet good product. So it's sold in 4x8 sheets, and despite its kind of funny little name, it serves a very distinct purpose in that it is extremely flexible. So you could almost make a true circle out of a sheet of wiggle wood.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a very neat product, and it's very helpful when creating the jamb for those archways. Yeah. It's a really...
So the jamb, does this door open?
Yeah, go ahead.
The jamb is what we would call like the interior part or the upper part. Yeah. When you're looking at a door, the inside part, that's called the jamb.
It's like the frame of the door.
Yeah.
The jamb is like the frame.
Yeah.
So the wiggle wood is a great way to create that arched jamb
without going super custom.
Yes.
And especially if you're not going to be doing moldings around it, it's just a nice clean drywall look finish.
And it's also very good if your archway is maybe not perfectly straight, or like if you have any sort of
to us.
No, right? Any kind of anomalies, the wiggle wood is a great way to accommodate that.
Yeah. So it's super flexible. Yeah. Both by being flexible and both by application.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, but there's exciting things that are custom that we could do.
Yes.
So let's maybe talk about the wood jamb.
Yeah, so this is an example of a custom made wood jamb. This is for a customer. So it is a white oak jamb or door frame. So this will be installed for an actual arched opening, and these are custom made, and you give us the specifications of the opening that you have and we'll make this for you, and it finishes up beautifully.
So what I would love about this is like for a doorway or for a bigger archway,
window,
and you can stain or paint the inside, right? And can you just imagine having that beautiful archway, all of it stained like in natural oak?
Yes.
How gorgeous would that be, right? Yeah. And then on top of that, we also have a custom oak trim.
Yeah. So in this case, for this customer, we've made both the jamb or the frame and the casing to go around it. I'm not perfectly lined up here, but you get the idea. So we've turned our 3¼ inch step bevel casing into a curved product specifically for their window.
Yeah, so we've done this quite a bit. And again, like I love the idea, even if all your baseboards are painted, of really creating a feature archway and having it stained, like makes my heart palpitate. Oh my God. And are these available in MDF as well?
For sure, we make these in all different types of species.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a resurgence of white oak right now is super popular, but we still do a lot of these in paint grade, either in a poplar or an MDF.
This is white oak. This is the best. You can't get better than this. Unless maybe you tried to do walnut, but I can't even imagine that experience.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. A podcast wouldn't be complete without talking about trends. Everybody's always, and I'm not trendy when I do design work. I tend to say to people, if you're going to do trends in 5 years, it's not going to be trendy anymore.
Yes.
And then what, right? So I tend to like a longer living
Yes.
design, but sometimes things move over a really long period of time. Like we've been doing shaker doors and simple modern trims
Yes.
for, I don't know, 15 years, I
Yes.
think we're getting to. And as we were talking about earlier in private, we were talking about how people are starting to move slightly more traditional.
Yes.
And I always say that you get a big movement towards traditional when there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. So whether it's economic downturns or instability in government or, you know, COVID or whatever it is, people start to want to bunker down at home and feel really super cozy. And a really modern design doesn't always allow for that unless you're a fabulous designer. So talk to me about the difference between, you know, these are all standard shaker doors for standing around.
Yes.
What are you seeing people moving into now?
Yeah, so like you said, we've been doing a ton of shaker doors for a really long time. Actually longer than I thought we were going to be doing it for. People are still very into the shaker look, the nice clean straight lines, minimalistic, not a lot of detail, sometimes even just dimensional lumber as a casing or baseboard. And we are seeing a shift now to, like you said, like that more cozy comfort look. So a nod towards the traditional. So we're seeing more arch top doors, more arch jams. We're seeing people lean towards moldings that have more of that traditional look. So
like similar to what you're holding.
Yeah, so these are two pretty good examples of the different styles. So we've got our sort of contemporary, clean, straight lines, very little detail to it, versus this is actually a profile that we have had basically since the beginning. So it has a little bit of an OG there, some more rounded shape to it. And we're seeing a nod towards that in recent days. We're doing a lot more, even warm tones. So people going back to stained trim and moldings, which we did very little of for a really long time.
We don't really do it very often.
No.
It's also really like, it's more expensive.
It is. But like you had mentioned, you can do it on a feature door or a feature wall. Your whole house doesn't have to be stained moldings. You can pick and choose, and you can mix and match. And that's the nice thing about moldings is they can be so versatile and mold them to your style and the look you're going for in your house.
Yeah, everyone always tries to be so matchy-matchy. But every once in a while, it's nice to have something a little different or have a feature. You know, especially if you're doing, you know, a family room with a beautiful bookcase. That bookcase can stand on its own and have its own beautiful moldings. You know, and not match all of the other stuff.
For sure.
And sometimes it's nice to mix a little traditional with a little modern.
And that's what we're seeing. So, you know, things like shiplap and like I said, shaker doors, we've done a ton of, seen a lot of it. It's going strong. It still is a very popular look, but definitely a nod towards more traditional looks lately.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
I like
me too.
it when things change and things move forward.
And even the warm tones as well. We're seeing more of that as well to go along with it. So
gray's kind of out. At least those sort of cooler grays. People are using warmer grays with creams, and they're really pushing to a lot more of a warm vibe. And again, I think that's telling. It's telling you what's going on around us, right? We all want to snuggle with that cable knit blanket and feel warm.
For sure.
Well, thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and I really hope that our watchers and listeners get a lot out of. I did. I actually learned things I didn't know after so many years in business.
Awesome.
So thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
See y'all later.